suspended for 25 games, single-handedly dragging an entire franchise into the mud. Some are calling him a basketball con artist. From the Clippers to the Sixers, every team that hands him a bag watches their championship dreams fade away. When the league office went public, announcing Paul George violated the anti-drug policy, countless Philly fans sent him trending for all the wrong reasons. Yet a segment of the fans see George as a savior. For Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, Paul George is nothing short of a locker room cancer. But for James Harden, Paul George is the best brother he could ask for right now. 2 years ago, Harden felt betrayed by Sixers management and forced his way out of Philly. 2 years later, Paul George used a masterclass in strategic sabotage, putting the Sixers in a hopeless corner. We thought 16 points a night after signing a max deal was already a massive disappointment. But just as the team climbed to the 6th seed, Paul George blew the whole thing up. In an almost self-destructive fashion, he dragged the Sixers back into the trenches. As soon as the league handed down the suspension, George was quick to release a formal statement, claiming the whole thing was a misunderstanding. He said he would take full responsibility, explaining he was seeking help for his mental health and took the wrong medication by mistake, leading to this massive blunder. But judging by the severity of the punishment, what George did clearly was not that simple. A 25-game ban suggests a major violation. Other players who face similar discipline saw their career trajectories change forever. Even though George apologized in his statement to the Sixers owner, teammates, and the fans, vowing to everyone that he would use this time away to focus on his mental and physical state to help the team upon his return. This suspension still costs him over $11 million in salary. More importantly, this whole drug scandal might cause Paul George to lose the trust of the front office completely. Many analysts are already predicting that once the ban is up, the Sixers will do anything to cut ties with him. Back in the summer of 2024, Paul George entered free agency and secured a massive bag from Philly, a 4-year, $212 million max deal. But since the ink dried, Paul George's play has not lived up to that $50 million a year price tag. His stats have been mediocre at best, and his availability is even worse. Philly finally got him and Embiid healthy at the same time, and the team was just starting to find a rhythm. Then Paul George gets popped for a banned substance and effectively sidelines himself again. While his overall performance has been shaky, he was still a vital piece for the Sixers rotation. Looking at the numbers, the Sixers are 16-11 when Paul George is actually on the floor in the games he missed. The team is an even 10-10. Management was already looking to move him before the upcoming trade deadline, even though the market for George was already lukewarm at best. With this heavy league suspension, trying to trade Paul George now is practically mission impossible. The people celebrating the most are Clipper fans. If Philly had not stepped up, the Clippers would be the ones dealing with this disaster. Even though losing George caused plenty of problems for LA over the past few months, compared to Philly, they definitely dodged a bullet. George was always dealing with injuries in LA, but when he was healthy and playing, he at least looked like he earned his contract. But since joining the 76ers, it is hard to find anything good to say about his play. At the end of the day, as Harden's close friend, George definitely helped our guy James get the ultimate revenge on Philly.